Is this going to overshadow the tour, do you think?
Well, I don't know if it's going to overshadow the whole tour, but it's certainly raining on their parade a little bit, isn't it? You know, until now we had thought that these shots of Kate at a mosque today, the biggest mosque in Malaysia, wearing a headscarf and looking very demure and respectful, would have been the image of the tour. Unfortunately, she is going to be remembered here in Malaysia, a Muslim country, and in fact around the world, should these photographs be published eventually, for quite a different image. And that is very embarrassing for any woman, particularly awkward for a member of the royal family at a very sensitive time around the world, of course, because remember, Western interests, in particular American embassies, are coming under threat. There was a big police presence outside the American embassy here earlier because of world events and that film. So really, Kate does not want to be seen to be causing any kind of offence, quite the opposite.
And Cordelia Kretschmar has been watching the pomp and pageantry and is live outside Buckingham Palace for us this morning. Morning, Cordelia.
Good morning. Yes, it all began before dawn, and let me tell you, it looked quite spectacular as more than 2,000 troops trooped down the Mall here, rehearsing what will be the Jubilee carriage procession on Tuesday, when they'll escort the Queen from the Palace of Westminster to Buckingham Palace. The most spectacular part of that procession, watch out for it, is the Sovereign's escort. 116 men and horses. See those red and white plumes. And just notice the way they're riding. They've got reins in one hand, swords in the other, as they trot, sitting down. Quite a feat, I'm told, by the people who know about these sorts of things. And you'll also notice there the carriage that the Queen will ride on Tuesday. Empty, of course, this morning, a 1902 Landau. The Jubilee show really does start here, and let me tell you, I was down here for the royal wedding too. So far, in terms of the seating, the staging and all the media setup, this is looking even bigger.
Let's talk now to Cordelia, who's outside St Paul's Cathedral. A packed final day for the Queen, Cordelia.
Absolutely packed. This is when the party turns back to pageantry. Starting here today at St Paul's Cathedral with a national Thanksgiving service attended by the Queen, not Prince Philip, of course, other members of the royal family, and cheered on by this lot. Yeah! Pressure from outside and within. Now, BBC journalists speak up about their bosses and how they were silenced on Savile.
Cordelia Kretschmar is at Westminster. Cordelia, how important do you think today's appearance by the Director-General is, well, for the credibility of the BBC?
Lorraine, it couldn't be more important, because the accusation now is that senior BBC management are actually trying to prevent BBC journalists from getting the truth about Jimmy Savile out. So we're clearly on very, very dangerous ground, because this goes to the heart of that contract, if you like, between a broadcaster and its viewers, which of course is trust. Good morning. David Cameron says not supporting a deal to rescue the euro was a tough decision, but the right thing to do for Britain. France and Germany rejected conditions set by Britain in the early hours of this morning at the European summit in Brussels. Well, our political editor Sue Jameson is there for us. Sue. This used to be the village of Arahama on the outskirts of Sendai. Now it's quite literally the end of the road. Even the damage done by one of the strongest earthquakes in history is nothing compared to this total wipeout. That's what a tsunami does. Then came the warning. OK, and now we're being told there's another tsunami on the way. Everyone's being cleared out of the way, and we've really got to run. This evacuation was a false alarm. Japan's in a state of emergency and high anxiety. London burning again, this time suburban South London. And on Croydon's main high street at midnight, one of the most dangerous fires of all. 5 doors down from a bookie's blazing out of control. Locked behind this door, under the nose of police, a woman trapped. She'd been shouting for help for some time from a smoke-filled building.
Are you all right? Yeah. Come out. I just heard lots of people screaming.
Are your children upstairs, ma'am? Yeah? Do we need to get police? As ordinary families across London had their lives turned upside down, one masked teenager tried to explain the violence.
There's a lot of youth angry right about now, and that ain't good.
What are they angry about?
You're asking me. I've talked to one younger than me, and they're telling me they're not angry, they're not happy about the government, they're not happy about how they're being treated.
Cordelia has been talking to a number of senior security sources in the US. Claims that bin Laden was alive when he was captured and then killed at Cordelia. That's one of the lines kind of bandied around at the minute. Can you add or shed any light to that?
That's coming from bin Laden's daughter, who's being debriefed by the Pakistanis right now. I think the important question is, and this touches on it, was this a kill or a capture mission? And as I understand it from sources very senior, the kind of people who watched this operation go down live, there was a huge debate in the preceding weeks in the administration about whether this should be kill or capture. In the end, they did come down on the kill option. And just think about it, you know, they could have just shot a guided missile at the compound and obliterated everyone. The main reason I'm given to understand that they didn't do that was simply because they wanted to be able to identify positively Osama bin Laden's body.
All the big guns there, aren't they?
Well, they're here, but one sure sign that the Labour Party really doesn't know what to make of this at this stage is that Lord Mandelson, Alistair Campbell are in the building, but they haven't come down to the press room yet to start spinning this result. The only conclusion we can draw is they simply don't know what to say at this stage because they're not usually so shy. A lot of gloom around this morning about 77 lost Labour seats, some confusion about whether they're going to be involved in the next government, and some relief, it must be said, that although Labour is down this morning, they are not out, and Gordon Brown, right now, is still Prime Minister.
We are building a manufacturing future for Britain.
Hard hat, safety goggles, heavy machinery, the message here is unmistakable. Here is a tough guy for tough times. Will you miss the President? What will you miss about him? And for the President, what will you miss about Tony Blair? And what are you looking for in an eventual replacement?
I'll miss those red ties is what I'll miss. I'll say one thing, he can answer the question, don't count him out.
British and American armies are spread out across the northern Kuwaiti desert around me as far as the eye can see. Those troops are this morning standing ready and waiting for orders.
A few minutes after that, gas, 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 the words we've all heard so often in drills. This time it was for real.
They've taken all the money they could out of the bank now, but there's one vault left that they couldn't get into. The troops just hoping if they couldn't, no one else can. A 7 a.m. alarm call like no other. Wilma roars ashore. So as hotel staff hold the windows up, we head back inside. OK, it's frightening now. We're in a corridor deep inside the hotel. It's windy. The wind, in fact, just blew this wall clean in. This is the kind of place they tell you to come when it gets rough outside for your own safety. Well, now it's getting rough inside.
So this is what the height of a Category 3 hurricane looks like. You've got thousands of people going down, and that's a very large explosion.
This is where we've been doing our live reports. Have a look. What happens when you try and get in. The pressure, the wind pressure from this storm just makes getting in and out of doors pretty difficult indeed. Then suddenly, just after 11, the wind drops. The good news is the hotel's still standing, but it looks like I've missed breakfast. The child mobs of Ardoyne hit a new low. Petrol bombs in the face of their parish priest. They're starting again. How can you keep this under control?
Well, it's almost impossible to keep it under control because it takes a life of its own now.
There's no respect here and no shame. What you got planned for tonight?
A rat, a petrol bomb, all the cops.
Petrol bomb?
Yep. Kill them all.
Kill them all? Standing on that corner right over there are convicted IRA terrorists trying to stop these kids causing trouble, and they're just ignoring them.